I've got 13 acres in Grants Pass, Oregon. My name's Miles McLaughlin here at Wilco Land. Gonna roll out a new property with you today. I'm gonna break this thing down. I'm gonna talk about a lot of FAQs, common questions. I'm gonna cover things like how you can access a property. I'm gonna go over a little bit of history on the property. I'm gonna talk about the target audience. What are some selling points of the property? Who's the potential buyers of this property? And I'm going to answer a big question that's going to be, buildability, right? Feasibility around building. Luckily, we have done some feasibility studies. Everything's looking super positive for developing and building on this property. Alternative uses would be tiny homes, camping, logging. This has got some valuable timber on the property as well. So there's a multitude of reasons why somebody might want to buy a property like this. I'll talk about a little bit of the history. You can see me going through the photos. The previous owner of this property had put a really nice road in throughout the property. So you can access building sites, you can access campsites, you can access viewpoints and all that good stuff, right? It's going to help with logging the property too. I don't know. So the previous, owner and seller had sent us these photos. I don't know if this is on the property anymore. That could have been taken off easily. This is a non-permanent structure. You can see a forklift can pick this thing up. This would be considered like a non-permanent, like a shed on the property. I don't know if it's still there, quite honestly. I haven't had a photographer out there this winter. Okay. But first and foremost, I want to talk to you about, what we're advertising here. And again, we talked about the main potential uses of the property. It's going to be timber and logging. It's going to be building a home, or it's going to be a recreational property for tiny homes, yurts, camping, things like that, right? Let's go through it. The first thing that people are going to ask is, where's this property located? And we're down here in Grants Pass, Oregon. You can see we're just east of I-5. This is a really, really beautiful part of the country. This property has easy road access. It has a driveway already installed. Like I said, up to building sites, up to viewpoints, up to usable areas on the property. Okay. And we can see Grants Pass is right down here. So really in a nice part of Oregon here. This is a pretty sought after area. We're going to offer one of the most competitive prices out there. The next thing I want to talk about, we talk about location. I'm going to dive more into access and location as well. I even have it up on Google Earth right now. So you can see our properties right here. This one next door has been logged. I'm not in the timber industry. I'm not in the logging industry. I don't know what the value of the property is in terms of logging. I'm sure there's a good amount of value to logging the property. That's not my industry. That's not my business. What I do is I buy and sell raw vacant land. And so this is going to be interesting, right? So if I go through a time lapse, you can see this. The property has some slope, but there's some really good benches on it too. You can actually go through a time lapse on Google Earth, and you can see this road coming in off the main road that takes you up through our property and brings you to this nice building area. And this road even meanders, it looks like, all the way up into here, up into the top of the property too. So you have a road meandering throughout this property. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a time lapse. You can see there's a road on this. That could be, you'd have to get a survey line. I'm guessing there's some old survey markers on the property to really identify what's yours and what's neighbors. I use Onyx Maps, and I'll talk about that in the video too. But there's an access point down here on the bottom of the property right here that takes you up. You can see that road comes in right here, kind of winds right there, and then it takes you right here, and it even goes up further. It appears. And so if I go back and look at the time lapse, this is actually really good imagery. This is an old structure on the property, and this looks to be an old structure on the property, right? You can see if I zoom in, these are structures. That looks like that home. Maybe somebody was parked right here, but this is a really nice, big, usable, buildable section of the property, right? Let's just measure this out, for example. This section that we're looking at here, that we kind of identify as a good building area. Let's measure what that might look like. That's going to be about a half an acre of space right here. And again, that road really brings you to a really, really nice spot on the property. And so it's right off Jump Off Joe Creek. If that name rings a bell, you'll know where this property's at. Let's keep going back in time and look when that property was logged. So you can see back in 2018, down here was logged. You can even see back in 2018, the roads to this property are very visible. You can see that all throughout the property. It looks like there's maybe like a road system. Maybe they did some thinning on the property. I just want to show you guys a history. And then back in 2017, this was just like that. So Maybe this is a property where you log a portion of it and you keep the rest for recreation or for building someday. Those are ideas as a landowner you get to decide. But you can see this road really well. So back in 2017, I would venture to say that road was put in. So it was. So in 2016, there's no road. Look at the changes in the landscape of the property. Look at this. So it goes from this to this. A road system's created on the property, right? Usable flat areas have been constructed. It's been thinned. This is a really value added activity. This is a really nice usable road system that's been put in on this property. This is going to add a ton of value to a future buyer, right? Having that type of development on this property, having the opportunity to log it, to thin it, to build a home potentially, to use it for recreation. So let's jump out of this and let's look at Onyx Maps. This is going to be my favorite app to use for land viewings. You can see the property lines. All you're doing is plugging the GPS coordinates into Onyx Maps. If you have the upgraded and elite version, this is going to help with your land viewing right here. And you can see the property outline right here. Okay. And again, Google Earth does a really good job of showing us, what the history looks like, what the road system looks like. I love this image. This road coming off this main road is really good and ready to use. So let's jump back into this listing. So we're talking about this 13-acre. Again, I haven't had anybody out here recently. We bought this thing sight unseen. We're using the previous photos from the seller. So get out there and give us your feedback on the viewing. We'd love to hear about it. We'd love to see some updated photos. If we want to talk about the elevation of the property, you can see in the bottom right of my screen, this is sitting at about 2,700 feet, 2,800 feet elevation right here, over here in Grants Pass. So just capping off this video, we talked about access, we talked about potential target audience. Last thing I want to do is show you the forest dwelling feasibility study. We've attached it in the listing. So with the zoning of this property being forest commercial, to get a building, approval, a permit for building, traditional building, right, through the county, things like yurts, tiny homes, things that don't require permits are going to be fine. You're not going to need to go through the trouble of doing this. But we've already completed a preliminary forest dwelling analysis. This is a huge step in the right direction, almost confirming that this property is more than likely going to get approved with a building permit, right? And you can view those feasibility studies right here. I've got those findings narrated right here. This is something we paid money to do. It took us time, all that good stuff. They go through these different template tests, and you can go down to the bottom of this. And then in summary, there's obviously no guarantees. Nobody's going to guarantee you anything until you have an approved building permit in your hands, right? You're not going to get that guarantee from an agent, from us, from a feasibility study. You need to apply for a permit, right? But it does appear that you have a fair chance of being approved for a forest dwelling based on the findings so far. The application itself requires more information. I can connect you with Nora Schwartz. If you do buy this property, if you do want to move forward with an application for a forest dwelling, this is who you're going to work through. She's going to be your point of contact. And it's your decision whether you choose to pursue the application, the actual application, and she's going to provide us with the contract. The fee's $1,000. Not a huge deal, right? So we've done a lot of legwork on the front end. We don't know why somebody's going to buy the property. Like, we'll sell property like this to somebody who just wants to log it, who just wants to put a tiny home up there, who wants to put yurts up there. We don't know who the end user is going to be. If you are looking to build, this would be, what you're looking to do. But if you're not looking to build, you might just have interest in the property at our price point for what it is. And maybe this is something, you want to do 10 years down the road, right? There's no reason to go through with that right now. That's something you do in the future. So the last step would be working with Nora, the consultant, to get that final approval and permit application sent in. Okay. And the rest of the listing, access is right there. It's already been developed. There's timber value on the property, right? We've got the zoning linked here. The parcel ID is located in Josephine County, Oregon. Again, you can read more about forest commercial zoning if you click the link right there. Taxes are low yearly. Property can be accessed right off Jump Off Joe Creek Road. Just use the GPS coordinates or try this address. You can put 8300 Jump Off Joe Creek Road into, and that's going to bring you to the same location. Here on the map, you see that it's going to bring you right there again to the same location, just north of Grants Pass over here in Josephine County. So, That sums up this property. Again, we've got this price to sell fast. That's our business. That's what we do. We do offer seller financing as well. So if you're interested in doing seller financing, contact our sales team about that. We can work with you on that too. So just leaving you guys with a disclaimer, we sell all of our properties as is. This isn't real estate advice. This isn't legal advice. This is me simply sharing my opinion, my thoughts, my due diligence with you on this property with you. And some of my recommendations and suggestions. So get out there. Happy land hunting. Give us a call if you have questions. You can reach us here at 605-299-5553. Thanks for tuning in.